You're also on the Armed Services and the Budget committees as well. Do you have maybe a little quick update? What's going on those committees?
Well, on Armed Services, we're debating two things. One is Iraq, what we should do with the president's ridiculous new funding request. It's unconscionable that this president's willing to spend, I think it's $190 billion in Iraq, but not spend $35 billion on health care for American children. This, to me, is just mind-boggling. I certainly can't vote for this funding request that's been put before us unless it is changed in a very significant way. So that's issue number one. Issue number two, we're debating habeas corpus. We're hoping to bring a bill to the Armed Services Committee next week that will restore habeas corpus rights for the detainees at Guantanamo. It is going to be a very close vote. We had a meeting about it this morning, and suffice it to say, as it presently stands, unless we can get at least one Republican on the committee to vote with us, we do not have a majority on the committee.
Okay.
So those are the two main issues that we're focusing on in the Armed Services Committee.
Speaking of Iraq, this was an issue that got really divisive on Blue Jersey. There were a number of New Jersey congressmen, yourself included, who voted for that, I guess, the resolution to condemn Moveon, which, I mean, obviously taking out that ad in many people's eyes could have been bad manners, but it didn't really seem, in my opinion, to be that gross of mischaracterization.
Here's why I voted for that resolution. I certainly didn't want to condemn Moveon, their intentions or their actions. But the president and his people want to sucker us into a debate over irrelevant things. And my view, the Congress expressing its view about an ad in the New York Times is pretty irrelevant.
Yeah. Okay.
What's relevant here is that we are refereeing a civil war that apparently has no end. What's relevant here is that 2/3 or 3/4 of the American public wants us out. What's relevant here is that we're spending, by last count, $4 or $5 billion a week on this. And if the administration has to join us in debate over that subject, they lose. So what they want to do is join us in debate over irrelevant subjects to get people's eye off the real issue. So, look, I think General Petraeus' report was accurate in the narrow little corner it was asked to occupy. What he really said was that there has been a modest reduction in violence since the troop surge went in, which is probably true. What he didn't say was that the Iraqi government has taken advantage of that diminution in violence to become more legitimate in the eyes of the Iraqi people. He didn't say that because it isn't true. They put Ambassador Crocker up to say that, and the best he could muster was that maybe someday it would be true, although it's not true now. I think getting into an argument about whether David Petraeus is a patriot or not is a foolish waste of our political resources and time. And what I think we need to be doing is have an argument about the real question, which is when are we getting out of Iraq, how are we getting out of Iraq, and how are we going to leave behind a country that's not a disaster once we do.
I hope one day I'll be able to, have you on Blue Jersey and we won't have Iraq to talk about. But
I'd like that too, yeah.
Have you made an endorsement for president?
I've endorsed Senator Clinton.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with regards to the congressionals that year, do you think that there are any opportunities in New Jersey to maybe send you guys down an additional Democrat?
Oh, I think more than one. I mean, I think, John Adler is a very strong candidate. I've known John for a long time. I don't know who's going to run in the Frank Lobiando district, but I think that's becoming more and more viable for us. I certainly think Linda Sender is a very strong candidate. She almost made it the last time. I'm not satisfied at least with one. I think we should do better than that.
I do too. But there's this whole element that there's a lot of congressmen who seem to sort of be laying in wait for Frank Lautenberg's seat when he finally takes his retirement, which it sort of creates like this sort of stagnance in our delegation. I mean, none of the current Democrats are really all that threatened. You guys all have huge war chests, and Lautenberg seems to have more longevity than I think any of us ever imagined. And I'm just wondering if it's possible that you guys ever do the team play thing. And I mean, are you going to be helping out the candidates and stumping for them and maybe getting them PAC money or anything in '08?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm giving a considerable amount of money to the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. I think I've already given $50,000.
Okay.
And I'm certainly giving a lot more than that. Last year, I gave $100,000 to the state Democratic Party for our federal account for our Senate and House races. I'm certainly going to be doing something like that again. Sure, I think it's my responsibility as a member of the majority to try to build and grow the majority. And my agenda is to win as many Democratic seats in New Jersey, in the House, and in the country as we can.
I'm wondering if you have any good anecdotes for me to take back to New Jersey with me. I mean, you've been in the House of Representatives for a really long time. I mean, is there any good like historical gossip or myth? Or I mean, this building is so iconic looking. You know, from the outside, I gotta think there's some good nuggets that you might could share with us.
The first day I was here, and they took me to the House floor, and I was sworn in. I came in a special election when Governor Florio had left the Congress. I was on the floor, and they took me back to what's called the cloakroom, which is a little area where we can make phone calls, or there's a snack bar and whatnot. And I thought, and noticed there was a television in there, and I thought, oh, this is where the members must watch the proceedings of the Senate, or they watch the committee hearings that are on. This is a chance that if you're on the floor, you can follow other issues other than the ones you're involved in. And I walked in there watching Wheel of Fortune, which made me a little bit concerned about the direction of the institution. But Congress, Jay, is like
not Jeopardy.
Not Jeopardy.
Okay.
Although I will tell you a funny story about that. When Bill Clinton was first elected president, he came to the Democratic caucus as president-elect, and he gave this masterful 2-hour performance in a question and answer session where people got up and asked him questions, and he knew every answer thoroughly. For example, a woman named Carrie Meek, who no longer is in the Congress, her son is, from Florida, they'd just been through Hurricane Andrew.
Okay.
And she got up and asked a question about the reconstruction of her district. And she said to President-elect Clinton, I'm concerned about reconstructing some bridges or whatever in my district. He said, oh, yeah, that bridge at the intersection of 145th Street and Biscayne Boulevard. It's like, well, I mean, he knew intersections in people's district. So after the session was over, Barney Frank said to a reporter that he had a new plan to retire the national debt, that we were going to put Bill Clinton on Jeopardy as a contestant, and when he won enough money, we'd use the proceeds to do that. No, I mean, Congress is like any other group I've ever been a part of. It's a bell curve. There's some people here you look at and you say, wow, this person really has his or her act together, really smart, really, admirable. And there's some other people you look at and you say, wow, how did this person get here?
I want to know, but I won't ask.
I can't. But there's a lot of people in between, that have niche skills. I mean, you look at a baseball team, and there's some people that are great pinch runners, and others are great relief pitchers, and others are great fielders. House is kind of like that. You have utility players. You have somebody who might know a huge amount about the Commodity Futures Trading Commission.
What's yours? Are you?
Oh, everything.
Everything.
The
manager. Are you a Phillies fan?
I'm a huge Phillies fan, so I'm jubilant. And to the Mets fans that are watching, enjoy yourself.
Yeah, enjoy the summer.
I'll tell you what, though, all kidding aside, that you can't be an expert in everything. What I try to do is take the areas that are within my committee jurisdiction, the military, education, healthcare, pensions, employment rights, and the budget, and try to become as facile as I can on those issues.
Well, thanks again for your hospitality.
Always a pleasure.
I'm going to head over to see one of your colleagues. Okay. I will.